Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Yeah. Mic check. Mic check. Mic. Mic check. Mic check. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mic check. Mic. Mic check. Mike.
There was a mouse.
Huh?
There was a mouse.
Where?
Over there.
It's a good thing I wasn't streaming.
I looked first.
That's good. Holy shit. Checking now. Well. Oh, wait. I got one more thing I gotta do. Where is it? There we go. Alright. Okay. So, as some of you may have noticed, I got a new setup. I've finally hooked up actual desktop instead of using the laptop now, so be a lot easier to hopefully stream. I don't know if the camera quality is that great though. I know some people are here now. Glad to see you guys. Nat Zelly and Alice, welcome back. See a few more people that haven't been here before yet. So, this time, for what we'll be doing today would be, let's see, CSS, making colored markers. So, probably be learning about shapes with CSS. One of the things that I'm sure you guys have noticed was I wasn't able to be on yesterday when I was planning on streaming then. I ended up having to get this new setup together, so I had to like build the computer, and I had to, switch out parts and stuff from another one. So that kind of took up most of the time in trying to figure all that out and get this all set up. So I think obviously the improvement of quality, it seems pretty noticeable. At least I would think. Okay. I'm not trying to make it like super loud, so I don't know like how really loud it is for you guys with everything. Like I said, this is like the first time I'm actually trying everything, so you have to kind of bear with me. Alright, well, I'll probably throw this up on here. Turn this over. Should probably full screen that. There we go.
Can we have sleepovers? Brent. Hey, Brent. Kellen said.
It's my daughter.
Can we have sleepovers?
be young again, man. Okay. All right. Well, so I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and start. So, starting off with anything with any HTML, gotta put our starting types in here. Our doc type. Doc type HTML with our HTML equals lang equals en. Jeez. All right, and give it our closing tag. There we go. So there's our setup. All right, so now we add our head with our head element, and it also wants a body. So okay, throw that in there. Ah, okay. It's like, what the heck? Right angle bracket. All right. So we got our head, we got our body, we got everything in here. So now it wants us to put our title and colored markers. There you go. Nice. All right, let's go through that. So I think there's about, not right now. So I think there is about, how much? 95 steps in this one. I'm pretty sure. I think we should be able to get through it though. Meta and UTF 8. I believe that's char set. Oops. UTF-8 char set attribute. There we go. Telling the browser that we're using what character codes to use for English. Alright, so add another adding the viewport. Okay. So meta name viewport content is the width equals device width initial scale is 1.0. There we go. There you go. All right. Name is set to viewport. So we have the name, and then we have a content, device, width. Ah, there we go. That's why. So we have the initial scale. Okay. So remember from the last lesson that we put that in there? I believe that was the last lesson. Yeah. So the viewport changes the whole entire HTML document to go on the size of phones. So, or whatever device, like tablets or whatever you want. So it scales to the device width. So we got that done. Within the body, so we're gonna put an H1 element with the text CSS color markers. So let's do that. H1 CSS color markers. There we go. So we have our title right there. Let's throw it up. Cool. Submit that. Cool. In this project, you work with blah, blah, blah. So we got the style CSS sheet. So I believe we need to put our link in here to that sheet. So link type, I believe. Oh, REL for relationship attribute. I'm thinking of JavaScript. And a hyperreference value for styles.css and that. Okay, check that. There we go. We are now tied to our style sheet here. So we can put anything that we want, and now we can change the look of our HTML document. All right, let's throw that to the next. All right, styling the page. So we want all of our paragraph elements, selectors. Oh, okay. It wants the H1 element. Okay, so H1, if you remember, you type your element, and then you put your curly braces to be able to add CSS to it, modifications, and we will do text, align, center. There you go. So now we have it at the center here. Right. Now you'll add some elements that you eventually style into color markers. Alright, so in the body, add a div to container. So we'll add a div with a class of container. Alright. Okay. Alright, so I assume this is going to hold all the markers in it. Right there. Okay. Add another div element and give it a class of marker. Okay. So div class marker. Okay. So we will add that in there. It's time to add some color to the marker. Okay, so remember that one way to add color to an element is the color keyword. So you got black, cyan, or yellow. So a lot of people pronounce it cayenne, but it makes the S sound. So the, C-E, C-I, C-Y. I've been doing a lot of English with the kids. So found out the proper way to actually say that. So we're gonna target the marker class that we created. So remember to put the dot in front of it, just select the class, and then we'll do background color and set that to red. So not there yet. The background color was applied, but since the marker development is empty, it doesn't have any height by default. So since there's nothing in it, obviously it's just like a line across, but it doesn't have anything in it. So it's kind of invisible right now. So we have to set the width. Wants the height set to 25 pixels and the width set to 200 pixels. There we go. Got a marker. Alright. Got our next one. So, yeah, I got it. So it wants it in the middle. So remember how we do this? So you can align text with the center, but when you have like other elements like this, you want to set the margin. Remember, margin left, auto, and then margin right will be auto as well. So just remember that. Text, you're gonna do a text align center. For these items, you're gonna do margin left auto, margin right auto. So, and that'll get you in your center point. I did. What? To center, okay, I did. Oh, it wants it to do it with all of it. See, that's why you just gotta do directions, man. It wants everything to be on the center. Alright. So the top, the left, the right, and the bottom, it wants it all to be auto. Okay, so usually you can do a margin left and margin right. But in this instance, it wants it to do all around it, wants to be automatic. All right. Go ahead and check that. Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. I didn't submit it. I was sitting there and I was like, this is the exact same thing I did. Alright. Add the other markers. So, okay. So, add 2 more developments to give them each class a marker. Alright. So, we could easily, obviously write it out. But it's so much easier to do this. Just copy and paste. Work smarter, not harder. Alright, so while those are there, so this makes it all auto, but we want to make sure the shorthand margin property has 2 values. It sets margin top and margin bottom to the first value and margin left and right to the second value, right? We've done that earlier. So it wants it to have the left and right to be auto, but at the top and bottom, makes sense. We want to do 10 pixels and then space auto. So left and right, it's going to have auto. But top and bottom, it's going to have 10 pixels. So it separates it out. Okay. To give the markers different colors, you will need to add a unique class to each one. Multiple classes can be added to an element by listing them in the class attribute and separating them with a space. Right. Then add 1 to the first marker div element. Alright, so we'll put 1. So in this, Yeah, because we don't want them all to be red. So we took the background element out of those. So all the markers are gonna at least have this right here. But then we need a CSS class for one, and setting that background color to red. And then we have to make 2 and 3. So 2, 2 and 3. Alright, so we have 1. Now we need a 2 and a 3 with a background of green and blue. So we'll do 2. And then 3. So 2, background, color, green, background, color, oh my gosh, blue. There you go. See? All good. Now we have different colors. Yeah, so there are two main color models. We have the RGB, red, green, blue model. So those are used in electronic devices, and the subtractive CMYK, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black model used in print. In this product, you'll work with the RGB model. This means that colors begin in black and change as different levels of green, or red, green, and blue are introduced. So we use this with the RGB function. Okay, so we're gonna get the container class, and we're gonna do a background. Oh my gosh. Background color RGB 0, 0, 0. There. Good there. So if you notice, when we did that div that had a container, so it's everything inside that container is applied. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. Each red, green, and blue value is a number from 0 to 255. 0 means that there's 0 of that color and is black. 255 means that there's 100% of that color. So now in the one CSS rule, replace the color keyword with the RGB function. Okay, so we'll do RGB, and 255 will be red, 0, 0. I'm assuming they're going to want us to do the same with each. So we'll do the same here. So for green, we would do RGB and B. Then we'd have 0. For green, 255, and then blue is 0. So we have green. And then here, we're going to do RGB 0, 0, 255. There we go. So we're good on that. Checking the code. Oh, oops. So while the red and blue markers look the same, the green one is much lighter than it was before. It's because the green color keyword is actually a darker shade and is about halfway between black and the maximum value for green. Huh. In the two CSS rules, set the green value in the RGB function to 127 to lower its intensity. There we go. Definitely lowered. Alright, 25. More vertical space between your markers and the edge of the container element they're in. In the container CSS rule, use the shorthand padding property to add 10 pixels to top and bottom padding to 0. Okay. So, in the container, we want padding. And we want 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 pixels left and right. There we go. Doing pretty good. Not too bad. Alright, so now we got 26. In the RGB color model, primary colors are colors that, when combined, create pure white. But for this to happen, each color needs to be at its highest intensity. So in order to do this, we have to set this back to 255 for it to be at the highest green. That is bright. And then they have the primary RGB colors. It's time to combine them. So G function in the container rule set the green, red, green, and blue values to the max 255. So that's okay, right. Yep. So, congratulations, guys. You made white. Secondary colors are the colors you get when you combine primary colors. So, you might have noticed that secondary colors in the last step, as you change the red, green, and blue values. So, to create the first secondary color, yellow, update the RGB function. So, you know, how to do that. Alright, so to combine pure red and pure green. Ta-da. And you did it. We got yellow. Alright. To create the next secondary cyan, update the RBG function in the 2 for, let me guess, green and blue. There you go. So we got cyan. And then magenta to function in the 3 rule to combine blue and pure red. Ta-da! We have done it. Now that you're familiar with the secondary colors, you'll learn how to use tertiary colors. Tertiary. Tertiary colors are created by combining a primary with a nearby secondary color to create the tertiary color orange. Update the RGB function in the rule so that red is at the maximum value and set the green to 127. It's amazing. Just by adjusting the intensity, you can make a bunch of different stuff. Alright. Notice that to create orange, you had to increase the intensity of red and decrease the intensity of green. This is because orange is a combination of red and yellow. Yes, and falls between the two colors on the color wheel. That makes sense. This color wheel to create the tertiary color spring green combines cyan with green. So green is at the maximum, set blue to 127. Yeah. Spring green. Heck yeah. And to create the tertiary color violet, combine magenta with blue. So set red to 127. Or, you can do all these, but you could also look up a thing on Google and you can get like color combinations that way as well. If you can't remember, this and you're trying to customize things, you could always do color generators. They have tons of them online, so don't fret about this too hard. Alright, does anyone have really kind of any questions? I think it's kind of crazy. So in electronics, like how they use red, green, and blue, you always wonder to yourself, like, how do they make all the colors like on your screens and this with just red, green, and blue, and just now you're seeing how different colors of intensity can do that. Just making things brighter and dimming, values, you're able to make clearly different spectrums. Pretty neat. Well, there are 3 more tertiary colors. Char use green, which is green and yellow, azure, blue and cyan, and rose, red and magenta. Okay, so we will set this one. So the green will be at maximum value, and red, I believe it said red, right? 127. Yeah, there we go. As very lime green, but apparently it's chartreuse. Chartreuse green. Alright, so for azure, we will take the opposites. We will take our blue and put that all the way up, and then decrease this by half, and that is azure. Which, not bad looking color. Those, which is sometimes called bright pink. So we will update the red all the way, and then turn down the blue right there, and that is bright pink. Ooh. Excuse me. Look at that, guys. We're already on 35. So I've gone through all the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors on a color wheel. I really need to figure out how that is set. So that's going to drive me nuts. Tertiary. Pronunciation. So you can hear it here first.
Tertiary.
Tertiary. There we go.
Tertiary.
Tertiary. So I've been saying it right. Yeah, I've been saying it right. Tertiary. It just didn't sound right as I was saying it, so I had to make sure. Tertiary. So if any of you didn't know that, that's what it is. Now you've gone through all the primary, tertiary colors on the color wheel. It is easier to understand other color theory concepts and how they impact design. First in the rules, 1, 2, 3, adjust the values in the RGB function so that the background color of each element is set to pure black. The RGB function, yeah. So each of these will be pure black. Go ahead and do these. And there's pure black. No, it screwed up with my eye for a second. Alright, cool. So they're all black. So this is going over a color wheel. Is a circle where similar colors or hues are near each other. The different ones are further apart. For example, pure red is between the hues rose and orange. Two colors that are opposite from each other on the color wheel are called complementary colors. Yep. If two complementary colors are combined, they produce gray. But when they are placed side by side, these colors produce strong visual contrast and appear brighter. In the RGB function for the 1 CSS rule, set the red value to the max to produce pure red. Set the values of green and blue to the max to produce cayenne. So, okay, let's do red. So 255. And then we need to make green and blue to make cayenne or cyan. Wait. Green and blue. I was sitting there, I was like, why is that not? Hold on just a second. There we go, right there. So we got pure red, I got cyan. Check it. Submit. Alright. Notice that the red and cyan colors are very bright next to each other. 3D glasses. contrast. So, very bright next to each other. The contrast can be distracting if it's overused on the website and can make text hard to read if it's placed on a complementary color background. It's better practice to choose one color as the dominant color and use this complementary color as an accent to bring attention to certain content on the page. First, in the H1 rule, use the RGB function to set its background color to cyan. So, the background color, and then we need cyan, so RGB, so 0, 255, 255, and I didn't put the I didn't put the D. All right, so there we go. Perfect. So there we go. Ta-da. Next, in the 1 rule, use the RGB function to set the background color to black. And in the 2 rule, set the RGB function to set the background color to red. Okay. So we'll set this to black. And then we set this to red. On the Y, press the down arrow. So we need to make 255. And we need to make this one 0. Okay. So it breaks it up a little bit, so it's not necessarily next to each other. Notice how your eyes are naturally drawn to the red color in the center. When designing a site, you can use this effect to draw attention to important headings, buttons, or links. These are several other important color combinations outside of complementary colors, but you'll learn those a bit later. For now, use the RGB function in the 2 rule to set the background color to black. There we go. So I do want to take part of this time. So there are ways that, like, if you don't know how to naturally design, so I'm doing a little bit of UI design, but if you actually go to here, I believe, elementary color wheel. So there is a site called Canva. So you can move this around right here. Now this is a great website. So if you ever want, like, ideas and you say, well, I want my site to be kind of blue. Well, your complementary color is going to be yellow or orange. So if you want, like, hey, I want a lighter kind of blue. Well, you'd have kind of a, well, not really a lighter kind of blue, more of like just kind of a mid between there. You'll have like kind of a mid orange. So opposites, like complete opposites on here. But this is a great example of what it's kind of wanting to show you. But you also don't want to make like a site kind of like this, where you just have extreme green and, like, you know, this just violet kind of color. But the cool thing is, whenever you set your background, you can actually pick and set it to this hexadecimal right here. So see, and then this decreases the saturation, the value, like your more of a hue. It increases your hue or brightness. So yeah, and then if you want like, hey, I want a red, well, there's your our cyan that we were making earlier. So, but you don't want it like that. You can do it kind of like this. See? You don't want it like extremely straining their eyes, but you want just enough that's kind of like right in the middle, just right. So these two colors would be like great. Like if you used like a cyan kind of background and then you used kind of red to, you know, like it was saying, using it for buttons or links, that sort of stuff. So this is a great site for like if you're wanting to use complementary color combinations. You can also use the monochromatic, where you only use one combination, but you use different shades of that combination. So you can have like a light orange background, like right here, but then you can use like, you know, these other kind of shades right here to draw your eye. So like the darker shade could be like for your buttons and for your links, and you can use like kind of the mid ground if you want to. Well, let me back up. So the lighter ones you could probably use for the background, and then the mid you could probably use for like your buttons and links and stuff, and then the darker ones you can use for like your headers and important things. So I guess basically it's up to you how you want to kind of use it, but it's recommended that, you know, if you're gonna have a light, you kind of want to you might want to have like a darker shade for like your other ones. And then you have Analogus that uses 3. So your next 3 like on the board on the wheel next to each other. The triadic. So you have one that's a cross, one that's like a third, and then the one at another third. So there's 3 separate ones. And see where you have red, blue, and green. You know, you can do it with different colors that way too. So if you had like yellow, it would be cyan and magenta. Something like that, yeah. And then the tetradic, where you have 4 different colors. So that's probably what it was referring to. But yeah, all these combinations like you can use for any of your sites when you start developing. But yeah, little side note, just wanted to kind of show you that. So it's good to just kind of think about those. I'm sure it'll go over in a lot more detail, but you definitely want to really put into some good consideration when you start to develop your site. And I'm sure the client or your employer may lay out specific instructions that they want you to do. And you know, sometimes you can, you know, that almost kind of makes it easier because you're not, well, obviously there's not as much creativity because you're not doing it yourself, but at least you have a clear outline on like how they kind of want it to look. And if you want to, it's up to you. You can make, you know, complementary colors of one design like prototype, and you can make, you know, monochromatic design. Like you can just do it that way and just, you know, of the color that they choose and just see what complements those, or what would be best. So you always gotta think about those too when you're creating stuff for you know, for another business or a client. Notice how your eyes are naturally drawn. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we already did this. So we're going to the next one. All right. So move the card background color property value to go back to default white color. So all that to be intense. Okay, so it's okay. Yeah. Either or, whatever. There you go. Now it's time to add other details to the marker, starting with the first one. In the marker development, change the class 1 to red. Alright. Okay. And then we're going to update the selector to red, and I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing with the other ones. And update the RGB function in the red so that the red value is at the max. There you go. So it basically wants you to solidify this in your mind. Like, you do it enough times, you're going to remember this. Okay. 2 to green and 3 to blue. So we'll do green. Then we have blue. Obviously, you won't be able to see that until we put green. Then we have blue. And I'm assuming it is going to want us to do an intensity on the respective colors. Green class, and update the 3 selector so it targets the new blue class. Oh, gosh dang it. We're not there yet. It doesn't want us to do that. Oh. Okay, so this is where we're doing hexadecimal. So a very common way to apply colors to an element with CSS is with hexadecimal or hex values. While hex values sound complicated, they're really just another form of RGB values. So remember when we were looking at kind of the complementary, that color wheel, and that had that little hashtag with like the, or the pound sign with, you know, those other 6 values? Well, that was a hexadecimal, which is what it's talking about now. So the hex color values start with the hashtag character or the pound character and take 6 characters from 0 to 9 and A through F. So you can have 6, you can have 9. But I mean, just kind of shortening it is kind of like, you know, shorthanding. The first pair of characters represent red, the second pair represent green, and the third pair represent blue. So for example, right here. So in the red, there's 4B, in the green, it's 5-3, and blue, it's 20. So set the background color property to a hex color value with the value 00 for red, FF for green, and 00 for blue. So let's go ahead and do this. So 00 for red, FF, and 00. There you go. So now we have green. May already be familiar with decimals or base 10 values, which go from 0 to 9. Hexadecimal or base 16 values go from 0 to 9, then A to F. With hex colors, 000 of that color, and F is 100%. So 00, FF00 translate to 0 red, 100% green, and 0% blue, and is the same as RGB 0, 255, 0. Lower the intensity of green by setting the green value of the hex color to 7F. Okay. You know, it's funny. When I was going to college, going over these right here of every little detail like this, I don't think that we ever did that. Like, it just kind of gave you books and was just kind of like, you know, here, put these in. It was mostly just one way, like, you know, using color and maybe RGB, but, you know, I don't think it went over too much of, I mean, we did hexadecimals, but it was not like making color with them. It was just more or less, you know, using them in computing purposes. HSL color model or hue, saturation, and lightness is another way to represent colors. The CSS HSL function accepts 3 values: a number from 0 to 360 for hue, a percentage from 0 to 100 for saturation, and a percentage from 0 to 100 for lightness. HSL. Hue, saturation, and lightness. If you imagine a color wheel, the hue red is at 0 degrees. Okay. So when we're looking at that color wheel, red was like over here. Yeah. So if we were going 120, so it'd be going this way. Yeah, so it'd be going down like this way. So 120 degrees, and blue is at 240. Saturation is the intensity of color from 0 or gray to 100% for pure color. Lightness is how bright a color appears from 0% or complete black to 100% complete white, with 50 being neutral. So in the blue, we will use HSL. So HSL. Okay. Set the hue to 240, saturation to 100, and the lightness to 50. Do I have to use percents in this? Yeah, I guess you have to use percents in these. I never really used HSL too much. So this goes 240 to blue, 100% saturation, 50% lightness. We're in a few ways to set the flat colors in CSS, but you can only use a color transition or gradient on an element. A gradient is when one color transitions into another. The CSS linear gradient function lets you control the direction of the transition along a line and which colors are used. One thing to remember is the linear gradient function actually creates an image element and is usually paired with the background property, which can accept an image as a value. In the red CSS rule, change the background color property to background. To background. Okay. So the background color is the background. Okay, oh, it's not the value. It wants me to do the... Okay, hold up. It just wants me to make the background. Yep. Okay, so now we have the linear gradient function. Okay. So let's see. Linear gradient. So the first value is the gradient direction. We have the color, color 2, etc. So direction of the line used for transition. So color 1 and color 2 are color arguments, which are the colors that will be used in the transition itself. These could be any type of color, including color keywords, hex, RGB, or HSL. Now you'll apply a red to green gradient along a 90-degree line to the first marker. So first in the red, set the background property to linear gradient and pass it the value of 90 DEG as the gradient direction. Okay. Use the RGB function for the colors of this first argument. So RGB, and we will do to pure red. Okay. Ta-da. And in this same linear gradient function, use the RGB function to set the second color argument to pure green. So RGB 255, no, 0, 255, 0. So look at that. 90 degrees. There you go. Nice. Goes from red and transitions to green. Whew. Whew. As you can see, the linear gradient function produces a smooth red-green gradient, while the linear gradient function needs a minimum of 2 color arguments to work and accept many color arguments. So I believe as many as you want. Use the RGB function to add pure blue as the third argument color to the linear gradient function. So to demonstrate this, 0, 0, 255. There you go. Pretty neat. Do you even know what's happening? Do you even know what's happening? It's okay. It's alright. My wife is sitting next to me watching Jenna Marbles. I like tapped her on the leg. Or no, I actually just opened up the sheet here. She just like looked at me like, did I say something? Did you say something? Okay. Anyway, we'll check this code. So pure red to pure green to pure blue. So then go to the next challenge. Alright, color stops allow you to fine tune where colors are placed along the gradient line. They are a length unit like pixels or percentages that follow a color in the linear gradient function. Okay, for example, in this red-black gradient, the transition from red to black takes place at the 90% point along the gradient line, so the red takes up most of the available space. That's pretty neat. In the linear gradient function, add a 75% color stop after the first red color argument. Do not add color stops to the other color arguments. It said red, right? Yeah, so 75%. Look at that. Almost all red. Alright, check it. It's good. Jeez. Whew. Alright. Now that you know the basics of how the linear gradient function and the color stops work, you can use them to make markers look more realistic. Yeah. Set the gradient direction to 180 degrees. So 180. There we go. Wow. Wow. So it starts like this. It goes like that. Sheesh. It's 180. So it goes like this. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, checked. Good. Next, set the color stop for red to 0. Okay. Stop for red to 0, for green to 50, and the color stop for blue to 100. So 0. Oh, went the wrong way. This will be 50%. And then we will do nope. Hold on a second. Is that the front? Well, guess that was the tower. Sounds like the fans. That was like one of the bearings from a fan, but it wasn't making like a grinding noise or anything like that. Huh. It was just kind of louder. But when I got, like, you know, the head near it, it wasn't really that loud. Sorry for anyone's ears that just got rattled by that. For one, yikes, my bad. Yeah, I believe this one was 100%. Yeah, I think that's right. So there we go. Now that the color stops are set, you apply different shades of red to each color argument in the linear gradient function. The shades on the top and bottom edges of the marker will be darker, while one in the middle will be lighter, as if there's a light above it. Whew. So for the first color argument, currently pure red, update the RGB function so the value red is 122. So 122. The green is 74. And the value for blue is 14. Oh. Dumb. Oh, so that wasn't right. It was talking about this. 74. And, 14. There we go. So then, this will be 245. 62, and this will be 113. Okay, and then third argument will be 162, 27, and 27. Okay. The red marker is looking much more realistic. Yeah, that's it. Now you'll do the same for the green marker using a combination of the linear gradient functions and hex colors. In the green, CSS will change the background color property to background. Okay. Then we'll do linear. Okay, so linear gradient. Put that in there. And then we will do the direction as 180 degrees. Oh my god. 8 degrees. There you go. Value is 55 for red. 68 for green. And 0D for blue. Okay. And then for the second argument, it's going to use 71 for red. F. F. 5 for green. And 3E for blue. Wow. Looking like something. That looks better, but the bottom edge of the green marker needs to be darker to add a little more dimension. So in the the same one, go ahead and add another one. 11 for red, 6C for green, and 31 for blue. There we go. Nice. Even without the color swaps, you might have noticed that the colors for the green marker transition at the same points as the red marker. First color is the start, 0, the second is the middle, 50%, and the last at the end is 100% of the gradient line. The linear gradient function automatically calculates these values for you and places colors evenly along the gradient line by default. Okay, so in the CSS rule, remove the 3 color stops from the linear gradient function to clean up your code a bit. So there we go. Submit. Alright, if no gradient direction argument is provided to the linear gradient function, it arranges colors from top to bottom or along a 180-degree line by default. So we really don't need the 180. Oh, but we do need that. There we go. Oh, we also need the 180 from here too. Can't forget that. Alright. Okay. Now you'll apply a gradient to the blue marker. This time using the HSL function as color arguments. Okay. So in the blue, so do what we have been doing, change that to background. Linear gradient. Okay. So we'll do 186 for the color. Once it's 70, 6 saturation, and 16 for lightness. Okay, and what's the second one gonna be? So HSL, and now HSL, we'll do 223, 90%. Wow. You know, I got really fat fingers today. 90% and 60%. Alright. Yep, and we'll have a third one for the HSL. 240 for the value. Hue 56% for saturation and 42 for lightness. Here we go. Hmm. 70. Now that the markers have the correct colors, it's time to build the marker sleeves. Start with the red marker. Whew. Inside the red marker div, create a new div and get a class of sleeve. So we will now make the class sleeve. Set the width property to 110 pixels. And and the height will be 25 pixels. Okay. Now, to make the color look more realistic, give it the sleeve a transparent white color. First, set the sleeve's background color to white. Here we go. And we will then set the opacity, which describes how opaque or non-transparent something is. For example, a solid wall is opaque and no light can pass through, but a drinking glass is much more transparent and can see through the glass to the other side. So this black container is opaque. Okay. You can control with the CSS opacity property, you can control how opaque or transparent an element is. So with the value 0, the element will be completely transparent, and at 1.0 or 100%, the element will be completely opaque like it is by default. So in the sleeve CSS rule, we set the opacity probably to 0.5, and that makes it 50% opaque. So we do opacity, and then we go 50%. Ta-da! We now have created a sleeve. So we'll be done with that. On to 74. Another way to set the opacity for an element is with the alpha channel. So similar to the opacity property, the alpha channel controls how transparent opaque a color is. You already set the sleeve's opacity with the name color in the opacity property, but you can add an alpha channel to the other CSS color properties. So inside the sleeve rule, remove the opacity property and value. Okay. So we don't want every single one of those to be that way. It's going to demonstrate for us how to use different ways. So in the RGB function that we did previously, okay, you have the red, the green, the blue for RGB, but there's also another one that's called the alpha value, which makes it RGBA. So you can do RGB, but you could also add the A on there, and then you can give it the transparent. So in here, set the background right here for this white. We can go like with this. So RGB switch. So remember how we made white? We made 255, 255, and then 255 for the lightest. But then we also have the A. So we did RGB, we add the A for the alpha, and then we go 0.5. So see, look at that, it still makes that. And if we were to change this to like 7, see how much, more opaque it starts getting, like it starts disappearing. But if we went to 0.2, it's barely there. So we'll go half on there. Sleeve is looking good, but it would look even better if it was positioned more towards the right side of the marker. One way to do that is to add another element before the sleeve to push it to the right. So add div with the class cap before the sleeve element. So div class cap. Slash div. Here we go. So now we're gonna make the cap selector, or for the cap class, make a selector for the cap class. There we go. create a new CSS rule to target the class cap. Yep. Set the width to 60 pixels and the height to 25 pixels. Okay. There we go. So it looks like your sleeve disappeared, but don't worry, it's still there. What happens is that your new cap div is taking up the entire width of the marker and is pushing the sleeve down to the next line. This is because the default display property for div elements is the block, so we need to make the inline block. So we need to make the cap and the dot sleeve classes. We need to make them display inline block. Two block elements are next to each other. They stack like actual blocks. For example, your mark elements are all stacked on top of each other. Right. Because they're blocks. Building blocks. So you want them to be an inline block. Oh, okay. So this is the biggest thing. It's saying that within the cap div, it's trying to look for a sleeve. You have to add a comma to get both. So now you're targeting the cap and the sleeve. If I were to leave these both, yeah, it looks for the cap class, and then it looks inside that div or that class and tries to find the next class with the sleeve, and it can't find it, which means it doesn't work. So you have to add that comma. Alright, so targets cap is sleeve and makes them both inline blocks. So like we said earlier, it was pushing onto the next line. Alright. So in the last project you learned a bit about the borders and the border color property. All HTML elements have borders, though they usually set to none by default. With CSS, you control all aspects of the element's border and set the border on all sides, or just one side at a time. So for a border to be visible, you need to set its width and style. So we'll go ahead and add the border left width with a value of 10 pixels. Alright, you have several styles to choose from. You can make your border a solid line, but you can also make a dash or dotted line if you prefer. Solid border lines are probably the most common, so we will add solid. Yes. Oh, that's why. That's just the width. Border left style. I'm so used to this shorthand. There we go. So you could do border and then you can do this whole thing. So border width, border left style. Alright, border should be visible now. If no color is set, black is used by default, but to make your code more readable, it's better to set the border color explicitly. So, in the border, left color, oh no, color, we will do black. There we go. So in the sleeve rule, the border left shorthand property lets you set the left border's width, style, and color at the same time. So instead of doing all these, you can just do border left. So instead of doing all this, we can just do border left. So it'd be 10 pixels, solid, and black. See, I'm used to this right here, to these shorthand properties, instead of writing them all out. So there we go. Marker's looking good, but to make it even more realistic, you can change the border style to double solid borders. For border left shorthand property, change the border style value from solid to double. Huh. Look at that. Okay. Looks pretty harsh against the more transparent sleeve. You can use an alpha channel to lower the opacity of the black border. So for the border left shorthand property, use the RGBA function to set the color value to pure black with a 75% opacity. So instead of black, we'll do RGBA. Oops. And then we will do 0, 0, 0, and 75%. So 75%. And it's not double, or it's double. There we go. I guess it's not as black, so it's not as harsh. Alright, so now that's looking good. Now all you need to do is add the caps and sleeve to your other markers. So we'll go ahead and add these. Go. Nice. Whew. So the last thing you'll do is add a slight shadow to each marker to make them look even more realistic. So the box shadow property lets you apply one or more shadows around an element. Here is the basic syntax. So the box shadow has your offset X, offset Y, and your color. So we'll start by adding a simple box shadow here. Wait. Yeah. So we'll go ahead, box shadow, 5 px, 5 px. And red for the color. Now, see right here? Did it. As you can see, they add a simple red shadow around your marker that's 5 pixels to the right and 5 pixels down. Whew. But what if you wanted to position your shadow on the opposite side? So in order to do that, you just put negatives. Bada bing, bada boom. See? Now it's up there. Alright. Notice that the edges of the shadow are sharp. Very. This is because there is an additional blur radius value for the box shadow. So inside there's the offset X, the offset Y, but then in between the offset Y and the color, there's the blur radius. So box shadow. We will add the 5 pixel offset to the Y, 5 pixel for the blur radius, and the green will be the color. So see that? That looks a lot better. A lot better. So check the code. Looks good. So now, what if we want to expand the shadow out further? Well, you can do that with the optional spread radius. So that's where you have 4 values. So you have your offset X, offset Y, you have your blur, and then you have your spread. How much you want to spread it across. So the default is 0 if you didn't want to use it. Practice by adding a 5% pixel shadow directly around the blue marker. In the blue CSS rule, add the box shadow property with the value 0 for offset, 0 for offset. So 0 for X and 0 for Y. 0 for the blur radius, but 5 pixels for spread radius and blue for the color. Okay, so everything is blue. Like this. Oh man. Alright, so box shadow. So we have the 0, 0, 0 for blur, but they want a 5% pixel. Oh wait. We don't use this here. 0. Now, here's the thing. You could use 5. And we can make this blue. Well, somewhere there was a shorthand. Oh well. So we have this directly around it. So I believe if you just keep these 0, since they're not really anything, see, it doesn't change. You could just put it at 0. Now that you're familiar with the box shadow property, you can finalize the shadows by starting with one of the red marker. So the offset, they want the shadow, so 0 offset, 0, blur 20, radius is 0. So we don't even need to use it. So we would do, so this is how it will look, 0, 0, blur radius 20 pixels. There you go, see? Okay, 0. I didn't add those, it would still be the same thing. I think it's just because it wants that. Yeah, it wants you to explicitly say, hey, this is 0. So just mind you, you don't have to put that, it's optional. So next, update the color value of the red marker box shadow property. Replace the name color with the RGBA. Yep. and we want, so RGBA, and we want 255 for the red, 0 for green, 0 for blue, but for the alpha we want 0.8. All right. Ah, okay. Just jumping ahead, you know. I gotta settle down. 83. Then it wants 14. And then 14 for blue. There you go. And 0.8. So look at that. That's pretty nice. So they want to do the same thing for green and blue. Yeah, so all of them, they want the same. So the box shadow, they're wanting this for 20 pixels. 0, 0. I mean, consistency purposes. And then they don't want this, but they want 20 pixels. They want, very stingy. Box shadows. We've worked with different colors that we can use. The scales. We've discussed the color and the different complementary colors or different techniques you could use. Tons of stuff. So for the greens, marks box shadow, properly replace the name color. So it wants the RGBA. Nope. And it wants it for the hashtag. Oh. Okay. Okay, so 3B, 7E, and 20 for blue. So I guess we didn't even need that. There we go. For the alpha channel. Oh! Right. So in hexadecimal, it acts as the same as RGB. So you have the red, the green, the blue, and then you have your alpha, which is your 9. Or your 8 and 9. Wait, well, no, you're 7. You're 7 and 8. Duh. Because you have your 6, but then you have your 7 and 8. Finally, for the blue marker shadow box property, replace the name color with HSLA. So if you haven't noticed, you can use any sort that you want, any style. So you can go 223, 59%, and 31%. So you have your the value for hue, saturation, and then you have your lightness, and then your alpha. So the alpha would be 0.8. We did it! we have done it. And that now is all your CSS. Now we're going to actually start doing an actual project where we're going to combine the stuff we've learned. So in HTML, as you notice, we can write, fill out, make the forms and whatnot, but then with CSS, we can now make an actual form with styling it the way that we want to. Now, obviously, if we did another one, this would probably take a while. See if I can go back into here. Yeah, so this is our web page forms. So we've done HTML, basic CSS, learning CSS colors, HTML forms. So this is 63 parts. And then, once we finally finish this, we will build our own survey form. So this one is the required projects to earn our certification, and that's awesome. So to earn your certification for, well, I think this is just one. So this is just one of them. Then you have to do this one and this one. Yeah, so we still have a decent amount to get through. So, yep. Definitely have a little bit of a decent amount to go, but you know what? We're making progress with it. Plenty of time. So, it's 11:06. This project doesn't seem very long because it's just building the forms out. We could probably finish this one up, and then the next time we meet, we can actually build our own survey form here. So, if we can probably go quick, we can probably get this done. Not too long. So, let's just go ahead and let's start this, because the way it looks, it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot. So we'll just breeze through this part. We've already pretty much learned how to do the forms within the HTML session that we did. And we've already did enough CSS to pretty much know what kind of things are going on right here. So let's just go ahead and let's give it a go. See, you can tell that switching between it doesn't select them both at the same time, probably because it has the same name, and then the checked. So yeah. Let's go ahead and start this. So first things first, the doc type, and then HTML. Put our, okay, so this might even go faster than I thought because they're pretty much the basics. So HTML with the lang for English. Then end it, HTML, there we go, and then we'll put the head and the body inside. So body, oh no, want the head, duh. So the head and the body, oh gosh, so body, and then we're adding the body here, done. So now in the head, we got our title, and the title title and the meta element to the head. Give your title project of registration form. So title. Alright, and then we have our meta tag for the char sets with UTF-8. And then, okay, well, I guess this is good enough for this one, right? No. From form. There we go. So we'll submit that. That's a self-closing link. So link and the relationship attributes as a style sheet with an href value, hyperreference value of styles.css. Okay. Just breezing. And then we're adding an h1 for our title for registration form. Done. Now, below the heading, use the following text within a paragraph element to encourage users to register. So we'll put a paragraph. Please fill out this form with the required information. Is that it? Okay. /p. There we go. Done. So now, the visual VH unit stands for visual viewport height and is relative to 1% of the height of the viewport. It's time to spruce the project up with some CSS. Begin by giving the body a width. So hold on. So a body with a width of 100% and a height of 100 viewport height. So there we go. So now get rid of the horizontal scroll bar by setting the body default margin to 0. Okay, so margin 0. There we go. We give it to margin 0. Make the background easy on the eyes by changing the background color. Background color to hashtag 1B1 B32. Okay. And then change the color to hashtag F5, F6, F7. Okay. There you go. Alright. So as suggested by the title, you're creating a form. So after the P element, insert a form with the action attribute targeting that site. So form, action, and we will put this hyperlink in here. There we go. And then, here we go. /form. So, opening and closing tags. So, the method attribute specifies how to send form data to the URL specified in the action attribute. The form data can be sent via a GET request as URL parameters with method get, or via a post request as data in the request body with a method post. So set the method, set your form data via a post request. So how are we going to do this? We are going to post it. Okay, maybe it just wants the lowercase. There we go. So send it via post. So I'll send the data to this site. So that's a new thing that you guys learned. You have the post, and then you have a get method that retrieves and gets all that information. Well, this is posting it to that part of the site. So as the form will have 3 distinct sections, add 3 field set elements with the form element. So field set, field set, and we will be making 3. There we go. So we have 3. Okay. So the first field set will hold name, email, and password fields. Start by adding 4 label elements to the first field set. So label, label self-closing, right? I'm not sure. I thought they would be. Okay, so they are self-closing. Okay. Oh, no, I guess not. Duh. Yeah. Jeez. So, label elements, enter your first name, enter your, I think it's wanting strictly case sensitive, so your last name, enter your email, and then create a new password. Go to the next challenge. So the REM unit stands for root EM and is relative to the font size of the HTML element. As label elements are in line by default, they are all displayed side by side on the same line, making their text hard to read. To make them appear on separate lines, add display block to the label element and add a margin of 0.5 REM, 0 to separate them from each other. Okay, so for the label, we will do a display block because they're all inlines. So as you can see, now they're on separate ones. We'll do a margin of 0.5 rem and 0. So see that goes by the text. So it goes about half a text. So to separate them from each other. Okay, and no margin left or right. So there we go. Okay. So nest an input element within each label. Be sure to add each input after the label text and include a space after the colon. So, okay. So we'll do input. This is a self-closing. The input is self-closing. The label, okay. Input. It was one of them. So I guess I could just do input. Just put it there. But like, oh, I'll just let it correct if it wants to. I'll just put them all in here. Just give it a space. Input. Right here. Input. And gotta put space in between that. Add the first input after the label text. Include a space after the colon. So I did that. Oh, first one. Here we go. Yep. Here we go. Okay. Go to the next one. Following the accessibility best practices link, then put elements in the label elements together using the for attribute. So use first name, last name, email, and new password values for the respective ID attributes. So okay, so we need to put an ID for this. This will be the first name. So remember, these are all unique. The ID for this would be last name. The email would be ID email. And then for the password, ID new password. Okay, and now we have to tie them. So this label is for first name. Oops. So we can just do I mean, if this makes it easier on you. I mean, if not, you could just type it out. Honestly. Oops. Here we go. For email. Yeah, see, sometimes it's just easier to just write it out. So, new password. There we go. So you have the for, what the label's for, and then the ID. Okay, specifying the type attribute of a form element is important for the browser to know what kind of data to expect. If the type is not specified, each one's going to default to text. So the first two inputs are going to be, so the first two elements are going to be type text, type text, and then you have your email, so type email, and then this one is going to be type password. So each one of these gives you a different, depending on what type you specify, this gives a different type of there's different things that you can enter in here. So in the email, it only allows emails with an @ and a dot in the domain, and the password type obscures the input, which warns if the site does not use HTTPS or the hyper transport protocol security. Hypertext transport protocol. There we go. Socket. Security layer. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna check that. First input element with a type of submit is automatically set to submit its nearest parent form element. So to handle the form submission after the last field set element, add an input element with the type attribute set to submit and the value attribute set to submit. So input type submit. There we go. So this is the default. Once it hits there, it just goes to the action. It uses the action at the form. So it's gonna send the data after clicking this to this address right here. So we'll go ahead. Element after the last field set element. What? The last field set element. Oh, okay. So at the very end, I'm guessing. Right. Okay. Check the code. Oh. Value. Submit. There we go. So the value is submit. So like how it appears on here. Okay. Go to the next challenge. The value. I gotta remember that for the value submit. At this point, you should be able to submit the form. However, you might notice not much happens. To make the form more interactive, add the required attribute to the input elements in the first field set. Now, if you try to submit the form without filling in the required fields, you'll see an error message. So we add the required attribute. Required. 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 So let's go ahead. So if we hit submit, see, we do this. Please fill out this field. Submit. And look, see, if you type in something else, it says please include an @ symbol and a dot for the domain. So there's that. And if we type in here, see, they're obscured, so you can't see it. Whew. So we'll go to the next challenge. So certain type attribute values come from built-in form validation. For example, type email requires that the value be a valid email address, right? Add custom validation to the password input elements by adding a min length attribute with a value of 8. Doing so prevents inputs of less than 8 characters being submitted. for the password. So we'll do the min length equals 8. So well, let's see if that even did anything. Okay. Less than 8 characters be submitted. Okay, so we just had the minimum length is 8. So we're increasing security right now. Alright, with type password, you can use the pattern attribute to define a regular expression that the password must match to be considered valid. Add a pattern attribute to the password input element to require the input match lowercase a through z, a number 0 through 5, and it needs to have an 8 minimum length with no maximum, which matches the 8 or more lowercase letters or the digits 0 through 5, then remove the minimum length. I should try it out. Okay. Yep. Okay. So we can remove this, the minimum length, and we can do a pattern. Is that what it is? Pattern. So some people may have seen this before and they're just like, what does that mean? So A through Z, 0 through 5. So we got that, and then we need the 8 with nothing there. So it needs to have at least a minimum of 8. Okay. So submitting, go to the next challenge. Let us go to the next part of the registration form. This section will ask for the type of account the user is opening and will confirm the user has read the terms and conditions. Start by adding a label elements to the second field set. 3 label elements. So label. Alright. Good there. Okay, users will be allowed to choose either a personal account or a business account. To do this with each of the first 2 label elements, add 1 input element with the type radio. So, input type radio. Okay. Input type radio. Well, I needed to add that anyway, but this was okay. Didn't add the closing on that one. Okay. So now for the terms and conditions, add an input with the type of checkbox. Input type checkbox. Okay. And then a make this input element required because users should not sign up without reading the terms and conditions, right? So required. Okay. With each corresponding label element, immediately after the input, add a space and add the following text. So, personal account. We will add a business account, and then we will add I accept the terms and conditions that literally almost no one reads, and then we will go ahead and submit. Okay, you only want one radio button to be selected at a time. However, the form does not know the radio inputs are related, so now we have to give it a name. So we'll go ahead and do a name, and we'll name it account type. And we'll do a name, account type. There you go. So now, if we click one of these, it only selects one. So submitting, go to the next challenge. Follow accessibility best practice by linking the input elements and the label elements in the second field set. For personal account, as the respective ID attributes. So I'll do an ID. This is personal account. And we'll just do the 4 right here. Personal account. For business account. And then we have the ID of this account. And then we have 4 terms and conditions. And then so ID will be terms and conditions. There we go. Nice. Okay, so now to finish this field set off, link the text terms and conditions in the third label to the following location. So we will do a href. Oh no, remember, a href for the anchor. We'll do this first. Okay, the terms and conditions, and then we will set it to this right here. We're obviously gonna have to change the color of this because it's definitely clashing. See that blue? Whew, it's terrible. This is one of those things that are gonna probably go in the styles. Moving on to the final field set, what if you wanted to allow a user? So I see what it's doing. It's wanting us to do all the HTML first and get that out of the way, except, you know, we had to at least do the basic color scheme of the text and the background. So it's wanting to at least do that, and I think it's wanting us to set up the whole page and then work on the CSS, which is a good strategy to use. So I'll use it to upload a profile picture, while the input type file allows you to do just that. So in here we would do an input, and then we would put the type as file. And add a label with the text. Ah, okay. That's what we forgot to do. I thought it was odd that we wouldn't do a label after all this time. I just didn't see it. So. upload a profile picture. Select and choose one. Yep. So we do the label, upload a profile picture. The input type is a file. Alright. Add another label after the first with the text input your age, years. So label, input your age, years. And then nest an input with the type number. There we go. So whenever we enter this, you can actually increase or decrease like that. Next, add a minimum attribute to the number field. So the minimum number that you could be would be 13. So as you can see, with value of 13, because users under the age of 13 should not register. Also, users should probably not be over the age of 120. So the max we'll add to this condition will be 120. You know, if you're 120 and you're sitting here trying to fill out this form, I will gonna say, like, kudos to you for one, living as long as you have, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna wonder what your secret is. So check your code. So we're good there. Adding a drop down to the form is easy. So we're just chugging right along on this thing. So label, adding a drop down to the form is easy with the select element. The select element is a container for a group of option elements, and the option element acts as a label for each drop down option. Both elements require closing tags. Start by adding a select element below the two label elements. Okay, so select, and select, and then nest 5 options. So option, I see. Option, I thought we would add a label or something, but option. Now, to do this, I'm just gonna say screw it, and I'm just gonna get these two, and now we have 5. We have 5 options. See? Check your code. Congratulations. Nest the select element with its option elements within the label element with the text, how did you hear about us? So I'm going to do a label, elements, label, and then you can't forget the indents. So we're going to indent that, and it's going to say, how did you hear about us? With a space. Okay, good. So you see that green bar on the left, you definitely can tell that it's everything is working. Oh, see someone has typed. Hey, Vengeance. What's your question? Sorry, I just saw that you posted. And I'm sorry if that was a little while. When did it? I know it was probably a little while ago when you did that. That's quite a path. And it definitely takes a lot of writing. So, sorry, that's a pretty vague answer, but you know that's the best that I can give. But I think we're good on this one. Drop down options are currently empty. To give them content, add the following text to each subsequent option element. Okay, so we got news. Well, hold on. Free code. It wants us to be specific. Code camp news. So we have to do this. Select one. Yeah. And then we put it in here. Code camp news. Free code camp YouTube channel. I'll just put this one there because that's easy. Other, and then free code camp forum. So now whenever we look, you can choose which one you want on here. You should get the option element in the text. The text. Did I not? Oh. There we go. I kind of really like how specific it is, though. Okay. We'll go to the next one. So I think we're almost not too far off. So in the form with an option selected would not send a useful value to the server. With an option selected would not send a useful value to the server. As such, each option needs to be given a value attribute, without which the text content of the option will be submitted to the server. So give the first option value of nothing. So that would give it a value of nothing. And option elements value attributes 1 to 4. So value, we'll do 1. Value 2. Value 3. Value now it'll send which one that you choose to the server. So the text element acts like an input element of the type text, but comes with the added benefit of being able to receive multi-line text and an initial number of text rows and columns. So users will be able to register with a bio. So add a label with the field text, provide a bio at the end of the field set. Add a text area. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do this first. So we'll add another label with a provide a bio, and then we will add a text, text area. There you go. Text area. Inside the label element, note that the text area requires a closing tag. Yep, / text area. And then / label. Alright, there we go. And then if you can see, you can totally modify this. So there is an option to limit that. So link the applicable form elements and their label elements together. Use profile picture, age, refer, and bio as values for the respective ID attributes. So label. This is okay. So ID is going to be profile picture. You know what? I'm so used to sticking these at the beginning. I'm just gonna keep it that way. All right. So next one with an ID. Age, refer, ID, refer, and ID of bio. Oops. Bio. Nope. Ah, that was the label. That's why. So go ahead and add it to here. Okay, so it does want the 4 ones. It's not okay. I know I had to, but you know, sometimes it doesn't like when you start going ahead of it. So profile picture, and then for age, and then for refer, and for bio. Ah, that's why. There you go. I really like when it just gives you the syntax. do when it's like good. So we'll submit. 39. Text area appears too small. Give it an initial size. Add the rows and calls attributes. So give it the initial size. You can add the rows. So 3. Calls. 30 columns. Okay. Okay, so it has 3 rows, 30 columns. To give campers an idea of what to put in their bio, the placeholder attribute is used. So we'll go ahead and use placeholder. I like coding on the beach. ... There you go. So here we go. Add that. So within form submissions, it's useful and good practice to provide each submittable element with a name attribute. This attribute is used to identify the element in the form submission. Give each submittable element a unique name attribute of your choosing except for the 2 radio inputs. So you have the name, email, name, new password. So personal account, no radio buttons, name, term, and conditions. Checkbox. So profile picture, ID, file, type, need a name. So profile, pic, for age, we can do you know what, let's put it before the type. I like to keep the ID and name together, sorta. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and do the name. Age, years. Name, refer. Bio. Name. Bio. User bio. Should be it, right? Yeah. Made a decent amount of code so far. So go to the next challenge. Alright, give me one moment. I will be right back. All right, I am back. So let's wrap this up. All right, so now that the application's done, we can spruce it up. So we will change the font family to Tahoma, and the font size to 16 pixels. Oklahoma. Okay, so check the code. Submit. H1. P. Just giving them a margin of 1 EM auto. So top and bottom is 1 based on the size. Okay. And then I think they forgot how to the EM measurement to describe that. So text align center. So we got the H1 and P elements are now directly in the middle. We don't want to do everything in the middle, obviously. So that's done. Center the form element by giving a margin of 0 in auto. Form. Margin 0 auto. Width be 500 pixels. The height will be 300 pixels. In between that range, allowed to have a width. Oh, a minimum width. Minimum width will be 500. And so just for the sake of keeping them together, we will do a width of 60 view width. So what is wrong with this? Oh, okay. The max width needs to be 500. Okay. The min width should be 300. Okay. So when it condenses, the minimum width that this can absolutely be is 300. And the max can only be 500, which is fairly decent. But the width is 60 view width, viewport width, and the height is 300 pixels. Okay. These Next, we'll see fields set default borders. However, they make the content appear too separated. Right. Remove the border. So for the field set element. So remove the border and add 2 rem of padding only to the top and bottom of each field set. Be sure to remove the padding from the left to right. So border. There we go. So remove the border. Add padding. And it wants to the top and bottom. So it wants 2 REM top and bottom, but 0 for the left and right. Okay. So I do want to see like a REM. So no, not the bands. REM CSS. So REM using rem units stands for root EM. It represents the font size of the root element. So EM, creating perfect scalable layout. Is simply the fonts, and the EM is simply the font size. It's an element with in a 2-inch font. 1 EM thus means 2 inches, expressing sizes such as margins and paddings. So root. Okay. Okay. So I imagine REM is like the root of like parent, I would believe. We'll definitely have to see this in a so you have CSS units, unit length, obviously, absolute unit. So these are absolute lengths, centimeters, pixels, points, picos. Millimeters, centimeters. Now units. EM is relative to the font size of an element. Means 2 times the size of the current font. Okay, so that's EM. REM is relative to the font size of the root element. So there we go. These are based on. This is based on the text of the current font, relative to 1% of the width of the viewport. Okay. Height of the viewport, so the width, height of the viewport. Okay. So, definitely a good thing to notice. And notice this comes from W3 Schools. If you ever need to know anything, this is the best place to look. Trust me. If you need to learn anything to do with, programming or, any sort of just syntax or how to do anything, this is the best reference. Manuals to go by. And as you can see at the top, this goes through every single one, from HTML to MySQL, and then you have C++, C, everything. The W3 Schools are like the standard for, set the standards for, well, I should say W3 sets the standards for all of how JavaScript, or how HTML can be utilized in the browser. Like they create the validations. And they offer certificates too as well. So that'd be a good site to look up on if you don't want to go through the whole daunting thing of FreeCodeCamp. But I definitely recommend going through this yourself, and you can follow along with the previous sessions that I've done to get up to this point, and you can start at really any point. If you just so happen to get all caught up and one day or 2 days, you can look forward to the next session. But anyway, back to here. We just finished this. To give the field set elements a bit of separation, select them and give them a border bottom of 3 pixels. So we'll go ahead, border bottom, and we have 3 pixels, solid, and then the color of red 3B, green 3B, and blue for F. So there we go. As you can see, I add little lines to the bottom here to separate them. Good on that. So the border of the field set element looks a little out of place, right? You can select the last element of a specific type using the last of type CSS pseudo class, like this. So this will select the P element, and then it selects the last of this type, and it will use it. So create a new selector that targets the last field set. So we'll do field set, then you have your colon, and then last of type. So if you don't want to do it to anything, like you don't want to do this with each one of your elements, you can do this with specifically the last one, and then do a border bottom none or 0, whichever. So submit, we're good. Alright, nice to have the label text appear above the form elements. Select all above all form elements. Okay. So select input, text area, and select elements. Make them make up the full width of their parent elements. So width 100%. There you go. Also, add a 10-point pixel margin to the top of the selected elements. So margin margin top, and then add a 10 pixel. There we go. Nice form. Okay. Okay, why do I have to? That's weird. Probably gonna use it later, I guess. Whew. Excuse me. Alright, so for the second field set, you want the input and label text to appear on the same line. Start by giving the input elements in the second field set a class of inline. So class, inline, class, line. There we go. Class, inline. There we go. This may go. Select the inline elements and give them the width unset. This will remove the earlier rule, which set all the input elements to a width of 100%. Huh. How about that? So we'll check that. Looks good. Add some space between the inline elements in the label text by giving them a margin of 0.5 EM. Also set other margins to 0. Wait. A right margin. So top, right, bottom, left. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the next challenge. If you look close enough, you'll notice the inline elements are too high on the line. Yeah, so to combat this, set the vertical align property to middle. I shit you not, guys. I had no idea that did that. Huh. Learning some extra cool stuff on this that you really, that you missed in other classes. So we'll go ahead with that. To make the input and text area elements blend in with the background theme, set their background color. Okay, so input and text area. So we'll do a background color of so there we go. And then give them a border of 1 pixel, solid, and 0A, 0A23. Wow. Well, how about that? Nice. And probably should move myself a little bit. So that way you guys can see kind of what I see. There we go. And then I will move this under here. Okay. So that way you guys can see this kind of right hand side right here. Move that a little bit. Okay. So that should be good. So you might be able to see a lot more stuff that way. Okay, so now make the input and text area elements blend in with the okay, cool. We got it. Now, mind you, when we do this survey, probably gonna have to revisit some of this on Stack Overflow or another one. Currently, if you type in input or text elements, you will not be able to see the text, and their height is too small to easily use. So, fix this by saying the color to white FF. So, and setting their minimum height to 2 em. So, okay. So 2 em times the text value. So 2 times the text value. So we'll check this. Okay. Submit challenge. You want the select element to remain with a white background, but now it's not getting the same minimum height as the input and text area elements. Move the minimum height property and value so that all 3 element types have the same height value and the select element still has a white background. So we will take text area. We will take the minimum height and we will place it there. All right, cool. Okay, yeah, and the select will still have the white. Okay. So, see? You can input your types and stuff with your automatic display settings. So, like, if you have stuff that's tied to your Google account, you can put those inside here. So we go to next challenge. So to style the submit button, you can use an attribute selector, which selects an element based on the given attribute value. Here's an example. The above selects the input elements with a name, attribute, value, and password. Now use the attribute selector to style the submit button with a display block and a width of 60%. So an input name submit with a display block and width of 60%. So it's an input value with the name submit, so it's very specific. So there we go. There's that right here. Okay. that in there for submit. Oh. So the type would be submit. There we go. Type is submit. So you can select any attribute. That's cool. With the display at block, the submit button sits flush against the left edge of its parent. Use the same technique to center the form to center the submit button. So, margin, right, auto, margin, left, auto. Oh, duh. It wants us to keep using the shorthand. So 0 and auto does the same thing, but it uses less code, so gotta be very mindful of that. Next challenge, to look more in line with the rest of the form, give it the same height as the other fields, 2em. So height 2em, and as the other, also increase the font size to 1.1 rem. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, see, still the required stuff is there. Alright, so the font size is 1.1 rem of the root. So of this form. Alright. To make the submit button appear more distinct, give it a background color of this. So we'll go ahead with background color and border color of white. So background color, border color white. Wow, it's pretty distinct. There it is right there. That's pretty neat. Doing pretty well. Let's check the code. Doing good. Lastly, for the submit button, you want to separate from the field set. So, adjust its width to never be below 300 pixels. So change the margin. Already include 1 em. On the top and bottom, while leaving the right auto. Oh, I got 2. So I gotta change this. There we go. Top and bottom 1 em, auto on the sides, and then the minimum width 300 pixels. There we go. There we go. Okay. Most browsers inject their own default CSS properties and values for different elements. If you look closely, you might want to be able to notice the file input is smaller than the other input elements. By default, a padding of 1 pixel, 2 pixel is given to input elements as you can type in. Using another attribute selector, type the input with a type of file. So input type file. And the same padding as the other input elements. So padding. What is the other input elements? What did we do that with that padding with? That's the only 2 rem 0. I think 2 rem 0. That's not right. Oh, so okay, the default of the others. So, all right, 1 pixel, 2 pixels. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I get you. It's the little subtle differences. Speaking of padding, the submit button is sitting at the bottom of the form element. So we want to add a so padding bottom to em to the bottom. There we go. So we are doing okay. There we go. Going to the next challenge. 63, last but not least, change the text color of the terms and conditions link. So I gotta remember. Terms and conditions. So I could do. No, that's not an input. It was a. So. Label with. Wait, hold on. So we would do a label, but we would also use a, and we would give it hashtag DFDFE2. Oh. Color. Yeah. So anything with an A will have this. I did. Oh, okay, so it wants every link to be that color, not just when it's in the label. There we go. So there we go. You go to a terms and conditions, you accept, you can choose between the two. Submit. And we are done. So we're going to build an app that's functionally similar to this one. So, all right, we are done. Next time we come back, we are going to officially make our first survey. So one of the first projects to earn our certificate. So, all right, guys, I am definitely leaving this here because we are not going to go any further. I've got to get to bed, but we will pick this up within the next session. And I'm anticipating that being, what was 2 days from now? Wednesday? So, depending how it goes, I might do it tomorrow night or I might be on Wednesday. But Wednesday, we have plans on Wednesday. So, me and my wife have plans to do something on Wednesday. So I might finish this out tomorrow, and then we could be done. There's a lot of specifications right here that it should do, which is great because this all used to be made in external code, like code base, like on a CodePen. We would have to make our own stuff on there. So being able to do it straight from in the browser is like the best experience that you can get inside their own engines and stuff. So we'll go ahead and do this in here. Alright, well, thank you guys for sticking with me a little later tonight. I'm gonna look real quick. So, Alice and Nats, thank you guys for sticking once again through another session. And I see a lot of people that have actually decided to, had stuck through the whole entire session today, which I'm definitely grateful for. So I appreciate that, and hopefully you guys learned a decent amount of CSS today. We went through a ton of stuff. As far as, colors, color schemes, and, these forms, because a lot of the internet is made with a lot of forms. A lot of web pages, it's just forms upon forms and that sort of stuff. So it's good to, have a strong grasp at this. So I highly encourage you guys to be able to get into this program or into this camp. So, all right. Well, again, I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I will see you guys in the next session. You guys have a good night. Once again, thank you guys for staying. So, all right. Have a good one.